Our Lady is, especially I suppose for us Dominicans, a very central person in our priesthood, in our ministry, and who we are. I mean, the Rosary, given traditionally to Saint Dominic, the Dominican order is the custodians of the Rosary, is a prayer that has always been very deep, very close to my heart. It's a prayer that I would say, I try to say at least 3 times a day, a prayer that I have been saying for almost since I became a Catholic. A prayer that I find not necessarily an easy prayer to say. It's a prayer that I might not always pay my full attention to. But it is like holding my mother's hand, it's holding Mary's hand, and she will guide me along the road I'm going, knowing the questions I have, knowing the difficulties, knowing the challenges in my life, and I know that she will look after them. So even at times, I can remember at times when I was studying philosophy, I had to walk between classrooms and had to travel by train. And I always had a habit to just to say a decade when I was walking, or 2 or 3 or whatever time I had. And every time I was walking, it was just automatically, I started to take my little rosary beads out and I just said a few prayers. And I always had the sense that that was a time of prayer. It was always a sense that Mary was with me. So while I wasn't necessarily paying attention, I think it's a prayer that even if we're distracted of mind, if we have lots of things happening in our lives, Our Lady is there and helps us. As we know from the Gospel, she isn't really on the foreground in many occasions. She is never really pushing herself or telling people what to do. The only time we know she really told somebody what to do was at the wedding feast at Cana, when she asked Jesus to turn the water into wine. Well, she didn't actually ask him to turn the water into wine, but she made clear to him that there was no wine. And Jesus says to her, what does that have to do with you and me? And I think that's the only time, and it's a very gentle time, that Our Lady is actually asking Jesus something to do. And at that time it's actually Jesus who tells her that, Mary, do you know that if I do this, that this whole process, this whole journey which he has to go from then and starts his public ministry, it says in the Gospel of St. John, it is the first miracle that he worked, that this is actually going to set him on the road towards Jerusalem 2 or 3 years later. It is Mary that starts him on this road, but after that, and possibly before that, is always there to support and to guide. So she's always quiet, but firm. She's quiet in helping us and pointing us in the direction we have to go, as she did with Jesus, but she's not forceful. She's always quietly taking our hands and leading us towards her Son. And I think through the Rosary especially, but also in praying to her, making consecration to her, asking us to protect her and help us and guide us, that she's always leading us in a gentle way, in the way that our Lord has traced out for us, the way that is set out before us. So if we trust in her, we always know that we will follow the Lord's will, that we shouldn't be afraid, but that she's always a sure guide. So for me, Our Lady is somebody who's very quiet. She's there all the time, and I put an awful lot of trust in her, and especially in the work I'm doing. Because I know she is there quietly, but that she will always take me by the hand and lead me. And for me, it's especially the Rosary, which is like taking her hand and trusting in her to help me to find the path her Son has traced out for me.